LA tried to break me, but these streets, they helped shape me. Pain rebuilt the man that destiny had shaped me into. Pain rebuilt the man that destiny had shaped. LA became a battlefield for me, and also my greatest teacher. Most people aren't going to understand what I just said, meaning that LA is a place where I've had some of my strongest tests, as well as some of my most valuable lessons that I wouldn't have learned in a book, seminar, or class. And if you know how to work it correctly, those lessons start to stack up. And when the lessons start to stack up, that accumulates into wisdom. And when you got a lot of wisdom, you stop making some of those same mistakes. And that's how we say in the country, you start to get a little bit ahead. Because if I had just made LA be my battlefield, which it was initially, and then I got the sense to say, well, if I'm fighting these battles and I found myself fighting some of the same battles, maybe I can learn the lessons from previous battles so I don't have to engage in this again. And if I do, I got a little bit more knowledge and wisdom of how to handle it. I'll know from the past mistakes that I made. I'll learn from my wins and also learn from my losses. I always see people get online and talk about LA, and they talk about the glitz and the glamour, the money, the cars, the clothes, and the hoes. But when I got here and I started living, I was having quite a different experience. And I didn't really catch anyone giving up not only the wins, because we know everybody's easy and ready to give the news report of their win, but the L's. And maybe not so much to share the L's because we want to reverberate or vibrate in negativity, but for the next person. For example, somebody like me. There's things that can not only help us in our L's, as I say, we take the lessons from our L's, but also others can take the lesson and not have to go down the road and make the same mistake. And how wonderful would it be if we all just collectively did that and shared experiences with each other? In a perfect world, that could happen, but you and I both know we in a far from perfect world. So I wanted to share that while LA has brought this brother some of the most exhilarating, exciting, and jaw-dropping moments, it's also provided me, if I could say, some of my lowest moments in my life. LA is not a game, people. A lot of people come out here, you try to keep up with the Joneses, you try to put up a fake lifestyle so you don't feel left out from the other people that are faking. And it ends up getting you in a mindset where you're living more for other people and not for yourself. And as you start to live for other people, especially in a city like this, it gets stressful, it gets straining, and it gets you to a point where you just feel that there is no option and there's no other way around. I know that's the way I felt at many times being out here and, you know, oh, I'm in LA, but I remember I'm like, dang, I've been the brokest that I ever been in LA. I've been the hungriest I've ever been in LA. I've had the cards stacked against me so far, here in LA in situations where I didn't know what was going to happen. And we know that when we encounter moments or situations, low moments and times, low, it comes from the word, we start to feel low. We start to feel lonely. I tell people when I first got to LA, I'm going to keep it real with you. I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. I had to get it however I could get it. And in that moment, I learned that I ran into other situations where funds were super tight, or I had to be a little bit more organized with how I was living. I had to make a lot of concessions that previously this brother never had to make or never thought that I would have to make. And when I initially got to LA, I thought that everybody was rich. Everybody was putting on. Like I said, I came here, I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And when I was getting around people, I was seeing people like everybody was thriving. Everybody was living a good life. Everybody's life was not as it was. I didn't know that at the time because you see, I'm from the country. So, you know, we see a nice car. Ain't nobody really got no real nice car. So we, you know, here in LA, it's a city that affords you the ability to flex. It's kind of like, you know, like you put 10% down on a house. Well, if you want $1 million lifestyle in LA, all you got to do is put down 10%. You can spend 100,000 and LA will allow you to look like you have 10 million in the city. And I started to see that people were more hooked into that game, and it made me incur a lot of loneliness because at the time I really felt that I didn't fit in. Every person that you meeting in LA or in Hollywood, they're a part of this project. They know this person, they got this amount of money, they're so cool, and you're sitting there like, damn, I'm just trying to get up on my feet. You know, like, damn, wow, that, you know, you see, it seems so far away. And me not knowing at the time, I thought all these people had it together and it was something wrong with me. I thought I was behind. I probably had 2 years in LA of beating myself up initially getting here, thinking I was behind, because I'm like, wow, they've got this car, they've got their place going, they're eating here, they're wearing these designers, and I didn't know at the time, as I know now, the financial sorcery that you can do in LA to flex and look like you're so successful when you're crippled down on the inside. And me feeling separate, even though it was a flex, I just stayed to myself. I stayed out the way. You know, I had people that was cool with me and wanted to hang out with me and be friends with me. But, you know, I felt, hell, I can't go to Aspen with y'all for a weekend. I'm still trying to look for a job so I can, you know, pay these bills that are still going. You know, and I kind of alienated myself. You know, we can accept responsibility. I kind of pulled back because I was like, I don't fit in. I don't have a, you know, and some groups, believe it or not, in LA, and this is going to sound shocking to you, there are certain groups of people that I was cool with and wanted me to hang. I just didn't have enough money to do the type of hanging. And I'm not going to be a person looking for you to pay for everything for me and then stand to myself. You know, LA became lonely. I had probably, I'll be honest, I had probably a year in LA where it was just me. I went out to eat myself. I stayed to myself, you know, except for passings with me, you know, working and doing my thing. It was just me because I was like, hell, I can't go nowhere. I kind of just beat myself into a wall because I was like, I can't hang. And that created a lot of loneliness in my life. It really did. I was just off to myself. I'd see people hanging out doing their thing, and I just kind of, you know, again, wrong thinking, wrong mistakes, but being able to look at those situations that you've made mistakes in and didn't do the right thing. I knew all of that now I can say was bullshit, but at the moment it felt real for me, and I felt that I didn't deserve to hang out, or I couldn't hang or my words were, what the program or the affirmation that I had, even though it was a negative one, was that I can't afford to hang out with these folks. These folks is on another level. Separating myself and acting as if these folks had some kind of superpower that I didn't have, or was capable of something that I could never do. It caused a lot of loneliness in my life. Again, I wasn't under a pillow, but I was carrying on life just like, if I could say, that level of loneliness was like living life in the background, because I still interacted and had things to do in the city, but I was just in the background, surrounded but unseen. Never really, when you get, and I talk about this a lot with my content, when you get to vibrating on a certain kick, it started repelling people or anything that could change that to come into my life. And believe it or not, the battlefield, the loneliness, and all the stuff, it pushed me more into a lot of my spirituality. I'm going to give just a real example, is that, as I said, that LA has given me some of my lowest moments that I've ever had in my life. I had a point one time where I was out of money. And then I think at the time something came through from my Apple that put me, a couple payments came from there that put me like at $16 negative. That's what I had in life, in the universe, on this earth. Every account was at zero. Well, they weren't at zero. One of them had enough power and strength to keep going on to negative 16. And I remember I was in West Hollywood. I was walking down the street, and it wasn't that, oh, it went negative and I'm about to get paid at midnight. I didn't know where the next dollar or anything was going to come from at that time. And, you know, our minds, and especially my mind, when you get in a situation like this, you're trying to think of, what can I do? What, you know, as we say down in the South, you try to figure out how if you can rob Peter to pay Paul, because you got shit to do. And I didn't have no Peter or no Paul. And normally when I had hit situations like this, I had a way out. I had an ace in the hole. I had a ram in the bush. And every bush I shook, there was no ram. There was no way out. There was no ace in the hole. There were no cards on the table. And it did one of the things that is still the principle of a lot of my spiritual practice. It forced me to see that everything outside of me was failing. I had to go inside. And I started meditating, started my practice, reinitiated my practice of the meditation of the heart. And in all of my pain, loneliness, sorrow, feeling inadequate, when I started communing with myself, taking that energy off of person, places, and things and put it here, I started to get some comfort. I went to this space and it felt, you know, this is a spiritual thing that I got in this toxic city, is that I found out that there was a place where I was cool. Right in here. I found out that the only true answer was right here. There wasn't a person, plan, thing, or program that could give me a better answer than here. But you see, we spend so much freaking time ripping and running like a chicken with our head cut off all over the damn place. You spend so much time doing that. Around the clock, you're ripping and running to do this. You're ripping and running to do that. You do all of this stuff thinking that you got it figured all out. And then they got more stuff for you and more stuff for you. And you never take time to listen to yourself. See, when everything was stripped from me, and primarily in that situation, it was money. When money was taken away from your boy, and then your boy was so far and the money was negative, when I had no money to spend, when I had no on the lookout deposit that was coming, money was out of the equation for me. I want to really explain that. Money was out of the equation. And when I started meditating in this situation, I was walking down West Hollywood, my account's negative. I went and sat on the bench and started doing my meditation of the heart right there. And I said, well, hell, my worries came up. I'm going to be real with you. During that time, my worries popped up in my mind. Oh, you sat on the bench and meditated and all was well? Hell no. I sat on the bench. My stomach was growling because I was hungry. I was lonely, as I said before. I felt hopeless, didn't have an option, didn't know how I was going to, do anything. And also contemplating that had I made a mistake moving out here to Los Angeles, was it a mistake, brother? Did you do the right thing, Kyle? Or have you fallen flat on your face? And as everybody says, when you tell them you're moving to LA, LA's gonna chew you up and spit you out. Had I been chewed up and spit out? As I started to meditate, that voice said, no, you're still right here. I don't have any money. I guess money doesn't exist at this point. Can you imagine being at a point where you would think someone like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, or Warren Buffett, or some international billionaire would say, money doesn't matter to me. But I went to -16 and it legitimately did not matter for me. It didn't exist. I had none to spend. I had none to receive. And it's always a power moment. If you get a chance, subscribe and check out some other videos, because I always keep pushing this, is that my moments of power came in surrender. So I really just said, to hell with money. I don't have it. Evidently, I'm here. But you know what happened? In the moment that I did not care, and I'm not saying you be happy with being down and out, because I went in and did an eternal and internal work that did this. But in the moment that I did not care about being broke, I wasn't stressing that I didn't have it. I wasn't stressing what that app was telling me, how I should feel based on what it shows on the screen. That's when I had a windfall of money start to come my way. I took a month-and-a-half vacation to Florida to visit with family. Didn't have to work nowhere for months. It was in the moment I didn't care about it is when it showed up. But I had been sweating it this whole time, trying to hold on to it. We squeezing it this whole time, trying to make it stay with us. And the moment that we let go is when it comes in. And one of the powerful things that I could say that LA did, it forced me to confront something. It forced me to confront myself. I had lived in Georgia and Florida where, for the most part, I could make things happen fairly easy. And my dependency up till coming to California was on person, places, or things. I had been talking about the spiritual game and all this other stuff, but I was still dependent upon what my bank account told me, what statuses, titles, position, car, workability of these things to base my emotional state on. And I'm not saying that, this is everybody's problem. But a lot of us, I learned that as I started to slow it down and meditate more and more, I started to observe, because then I became a watcher out here, how much stuff is pointless, how much stuff is frivolous, how many conversations you have throughout your day that you could maybe not have and use that to build your business or work on your dreams. I started to observe things, and it forced me to confront that, because everywhere else I was comfortable. I never in my life had everything stripped from me and didn't have an option for anything coming. Only in LA. Only here. And when everything was taken from me, all I had was me. And me made me feel good. Me wasn't worried about if I had a G-Wagon, how much money I had, if I had some designer on, or what type of sneakers I had on, or where did I eat dinner at last night. I was enough. I was actually the king of me. And the city did that for me. Forced me to get in contact and sharpen my spirit. If anything I could say for anyone, yeah, you got to handle business out here in the world. But when you dealing with a society and a city that's toxic, and you have no type of spirituality, and I'm not talking religion. Whatever your religion is, that's cool, that's fine and dandy. But you have nothing, and you're taking on all of this shit. If I had not sharpened my spirit with all the things I face, hungry, alone, possibility of having nowhere to lay your head, if I hadn't sharpened myself up spiritually and went within, I would not be here shooting this video. I'm going to keep it a whole 100 with you. A lot of this stuff, it's not meant for you to just go head up with. You can be in LA, New York, Baltimore, Atlanta, Hawaii, Japan. For you to be out here, and again, I'm not saying you got to be religious, but something to decompress and relieve. That was the only thing that helped me, was being able, because it didn't cost me nothing to sit there and do the meditation of the heart. I didn't have to buy a program or plan or get a certification. It was just something I can do that did tremendous things for me. And you got to find one of those things. I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but you need to find one of those things. I'm not here selling you that all things will disappear. I'm telling you how to turn those things into better things, because a lot of the things we get hit with don't do shit for us. We going through these battles, like I was out here in LA struggling trying to find a job, struggling trying to get money to get something to eat, struggling to get up on my feet, struggling to stay afloat, trying to struggle. Let's not even talk about the struggle to keep my morals intact. Because I always tell people I never had to really struggle in LA if I didn't have any morals. If I was willing to walk on the wild side with a few things, I would have never struggled. I'd have probably been doing this from my own property, right? A house on the beach right now. But knowing that you need money, but you ain't willing to stoop this low to do what you got to do to get to survive. That type of stuff, you got to have something else. Wherever you are, I encourage you to start a research on that, whatever resonates with you. And the only reason I'm here is because I started getting in contact with myself. One, find a method to get in contact with yourself. Two, I was able to stay consistent to say what I wasn't going to be one of those that was chewed up and spit out. I had to learn to say, hey, maybe it's cool to prepare a few meals at home and do this. Maybe you're getting more out of meditation than trying to run around with these fake people that even if you get all the trappings, they're not going to like you anyway. So I don't make this to be a bash on LA, but while this city was a battlefield where I fought some of my most intense battles, had some of my most intense tests, it's taught me and still teaching me lessons till today. And the more that I tune in with myself, the more everything balances. Keep an awareness of what's going on around you. Even if you don't meditate or do nothing else, just pay attention. Because you'll start to pay attention to some of this shit is pointless, useless, that you don't need. And some stuff you could even do different. But if you're running around like a chicken with his head cut off, you never take observation of what the hell is going on around you, or inside of you.